let's move on to the next part of the presentation. Why sociology? Uh, I don't know how many of you have made up your mind, how many of you have are still in two minds about the optional. I am here to convince you that sociology is the best optional for UPSC. Okay, unless you have a specific passion for any other discipline. If you do, I'd really, really recommend. Don't think about anything. This trending last few years, so many people got through data. These all have a certain limitation. Okay. Beyond that, what is important is for as far as UPSC optional is concerned, a certain amount of passion does help. And if you have a very clear preference for a subject, go for it. But any other reason, I want to argue, and in this part of the presentation, I will be arguing that any other reason for any other optional, actually sociology may beat any other optional. Clearly, I am biased. Clearly, it's in my interest, and that's a disclaimer. I know a lot of good students, very, very good students, very, very competent aspirants who lost out only and only because they couldn't make up their mind about the optional. They kept jumping. They keep going for, oh, first they go with what is trending. The problem with what is trending is whatever is trending, within a year or two, UPSC decides to hack it. And when it gets hacked, you're going to you're going to pay. You're going to pay very, very badly. And then you will decide to jump your optional and you will spend another 400 to 500 hours figuring out a new optional. And I know people who've changed 3 optionals, somebody who changed 4 optionals. The moment you've changed it to second optional, you're already very, very dicey. Your preparation is already going to take a toll on you. As such, it's a difficult exam. Don't make it more difficult. Take your time and decide your optional. But once you have decided, and don't make trending uh, criteria. I mean, you are going to pay very, very dearly if you go for a trending optional. Um, because that has been UPSC's, because I mean, we've been there for considerable time in this journey. Or like I said, you know, I joined BA for UPSC, and that was 2004. So that's 16 years now, and I've been following UPSC for 16 years. So I know this. I know the bigger picture, the longer picture, and in that picture, I can tell you that you are constant. I mean, UPSC has a tendency to shoot down whatever optional is trending at that point, and therefore it could cost you. Now, why I believe sociology is the better optional is because first and foremost, any problem in this world can be is one of the two types. It is either a physical problem, like an engineering problem, or a even your heart surgery, or these are all at the end of the day, these are physical problems. There is something you need to fix, there is something you need to build, there is something you need to clear, there is something you need to these are all physical problems. There's something you need to break or cut or whatever. Everything physical with the material world, tangible problem. Unfortunately, those problems are easier and you have specialists to do them. The harder problems are the social problems. Okay. And as a civil servant, the top one expectation, or literally, you are somebody who is expected to provide solution to social problems. Nobody else in the society is at that stage other than you. Okay. A doctor also solves problems, saves lives, but does it? What he's solving is not social problems. Please understand that. Similarly, an engineer, similarly, a lawyer, similarly, the one person who takes the society as a whole and attempts to solve social problems, not even a professor, because a professor is still producing knowledge and teaching. It is one particular service that he's providing. Really, the one person who is solving the social problem is a civil servant. And the subject matter, like the subject matter of economics is the market and distribution of resources, the subject matter of political science is state, government, and administration. The subject matter of sociology is social problems, which is why whether it is the UPSC examination or your role as a civil servant, it is primarily to solve social problems. That is what you're going to do. And there is no other discipline that is better equipped to handle that other than more than sociology. Now, the advantage with sociology is it is not, which is why it is the most relevant of all the optionals, both for the examination and uh, for the both for the examination and for your career as a civil servant. I will also show you how actually in terms of overlap with the syllabus, sociology has more overlap than any other discipline, than any other social science discipline. Sciences, so anyway, gone. I'm saying sociology has more overlap with your UPSC general studies than any other discipline that you can think of. When you look at it at a syllabus level, and especially the syllabus that has come after 2014 and 16, this notion of having, we'll get there anyway, that is in the later part of the discussion. We'll have to go through the syllabus actually for you to be able to see that there is more overlap in topics with sociology than with any other subject, any other option. Now, the advantage with sociology is it is also the most generic of the subjects. Part of the reason is because it is the youngest social science discipline. The very first books of sociology go back to 200 years back. Yeah, not more than that. As opposed to most other social science disciplines that the earliest thinkers and books go back to 2000 years, more than 2000 years, 2300, 2400 years. And that is the duration. And throughout, in the ancient time, in the medieval time, they have been thinkers. They were producing good ideas. And you need to cover all of that, which is a very different game. Because for you to understand a concept, you need to be able to, for you to understand a concept clearly, you should be able to understand why it was generated and in what context it was generated. The problem is when you try to understand a 2000-year back old concept, it is very hard for you to visualize and imagine the situations, the context of 2000-year old. What was the situation? That too in a different part of the world. In Europe, what was the situation? It's when, of all the things, it's the easiest for you to understand modern times, and modern times are only 300 years old. Entire modernity is literally from 18th century, 1750s or whatever. Some may say 1650s, whatever, but whatever, it's about there. And sociology as a discipline was born specifically to understand the changes in society and the problems in society that came about because of transitioning from traditional or medieval societies to modern society. So as Europe began to embrace modernity in terms of modern industries, modern workplaces, the modern factories, modern state. So the king is gone, the constitution comes, the republic comes, the state comes in the way we know it today, the separation of powers come, the modern state, secular state, the religion is gone, the church is gone, the state emerges, the modern state as we know it today. Market changes from a feudal system, we are moving to a more capitalist system. Social relations change, individualism develops, equality comes in, at least an equality of a certain sense. I mean, you're not born uh, in a higher caste or something like that. There is a certain change. All of these changes in that came about in Europe as part of their journey towards modernity from a traditional or a medieval society. To study them, sociology as a discipline was born. Fortunately or unfortunately, in India, the modernity came a little later. It is a forced modernity. It is a modernity that came about because of our experience with colonialism. The colonizers who first got modernized, they came and they have influenced, and we were forced to embrace modernity in some ways, which is why our experience of modernity is slightly different from their experience of modernity. Because for us, it is forced, it has not naturally evolved from our own society. Uh, However, the important thing is because of these changes, because of modernity and the changes that it brings in traditional societies, including in India, um, we 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 become much more, and these changes are happening in India. They have been happening in the last few more than a century onwards. Now, the thing about colonized societies is we are much more acutely aware of those changes. The changes that modernity is bringing is something that we are much more aware of as a society, whether it is increasing divorce rates, whether it is nuclear families, whether it is pressure groups, interest groups, whether it is caste atrocities, caste conflicts. All of these are, or your uh, honor killings, where the children are killed because love marriage itself is a very modern concept. In fact, all of these are something that you're experiencing. These are not abstract to you the way some other disciplines are. You still have to, but these are very real, everyday problems, everyday changes that are happening in the society. The old structures are crumbling; they are under immense pressure. The new structures are developing, new processes are developing, new thinking is developing in the cities of this country, and you are acutely aware of each of these problems. When we go into the syllabus, you will realize, or when we go into the old questions, you'll realize the questions in sociology are questions that you face on an everyday basis. This is not some technical, oh, what is this concept and this theory? There is a little bit of it, but for a large part, a lot of the questions that are asked in sociology are very, very everyday, experiential, something that you also may have either seen or experienced kind of questions. The advantage with that is when you read something about it, it is not abstract, it is not distant, it is much more real. And because it is real to you and it is relevant to you, you tend to understand it better because you've experienced it. And in that understanding, there will be clarity and depth, which is what will reflect in your answer, which is what will fetch you marks. Probably one of the reasons why you sociology has remained consistently a good option. It never really trended in a way so that UPSC had to then hack it, kind of a thing. That didn't happen. But so what happens is you need to, so sociology becomes very relevant to you, and you will remember and understand the examination or what is expected of you better. Um, yeah, so like I said, I am not a big believer of data and how many people, but if I would, as I was going through Google, the more recent data I knew when I used to prepare what this thing is, but I've seen that uh, sociology actually has very consistently high success ratio, both in terms of number of candidates who get through. The ratio is in terms of how many candidates take that particular optional to how many candidates clear, and that ratio is usually the ratio, and sociology has like some 10% plus, which is a very good ratio for an optional, and for an optional that is so limited, for an optional that has very limited syllabus. Now, in terms of syllabus, I can assure you, you cannot have another subject which has lesser syllabus than this. Literally, it is the least. You see the number of textbooks, it is literally two textbooks and some NCRT and a little bit of IGNO. That's it. Done. That's all there is to prepare for this. Your class notes. Subject is material is easily available. You take other disciplines for each component, for each in one paper. For some chapters, you will have exclusive textbooks that you need to read. This is not like that. This has always been the case. That is the case today also. Sociology, in terms of its syllabus, is the least. Again, least. What is the advantage with least? The advantage with least is you can focus on getting clarity rather than covering a lot of syllabus. That is the advantage. The advantage is not in least, therefore easy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying sometimes it can be large and easy. What I'm saying is if it is less, you can focus on making it clearer. The reason why making it clearer is important is the terms that you use in sociology are something that you use, or the concepts you use in sociology are something that you use in all the papers. And your GS as a whole is going to have a 30-40% increase because every concept that you use in any paper is actually part of sociology. And if you are very clear on your sociology terms, your answer will reflect that clarity. And in GS, one of the things that UPSC is again seeing is clarity and your communication capacity. And you will be able to communicate better if you have a good hold on sociology, something that no other discipline has. Like I said, because all the subject matter of sociology itself is social problems. Now, um, just the previous slide once more. Yeah. There is, I will go through the syllabus, sociology syllabus, and in the end, I'm going to show you that actually, as far as your mains syllabuses are concerned, in paper one, are you still able to see me? I think you will. Yeah. In paper one, there is an entire section on society, if you remember, other than history, other than geography, there is also Indian society, which is part of paper two. So on par with other subjects, you already have sociology's share almost equal with them, because in that paper there is history, there is geography, and there is society. So it is as good as studying history or geography. But then there is also in paper one, in GS, I'm talking about all this in GS, political philosophies such as capitalism, communism, socialism. There are only two subjects that deal with these topics. One is political science, the other is sociology. This is part of your syllabus: socialism, communism, capitalism, and all that. But the point is, your GS answer cannot be too specialized. It has to be generic. And sociology gives you that generic. So the same capitalism can be understood from economics, from a discipline, from the economics subject optional point of view, or political science optional point of view. But it is only sociology's vantage point which is relevant for general studies, not the other disciplines. They are too, the other disciplines are too nuanced. They are required for those specialists, but not for generic. For general understanding, it is sociology's vantage point that is useful. Then you have topics of highlights of Indian society, diversity in India, impact of globalization on Indian. These are straight away sociology wala topics. Those I will not even go through, because I said they are on par with any other, like they are equal to geography or history, which is part of this thing. Now, the interesting thing is paper two. In paper two, yes, paper two can also have, you can answer some of this from with political science as your option. But you can also, all of these are also something that you do in sociology. For instance, pressure groups, informal associations, welfare schemes, populations, institutions. Again, a very, very social, it's more a sociology topic. Development processes, development industry, role of NGOs is a very sociology. SHGs, it is a straightaway topic in our sociology syllabus. Education, human resource, issues relating to poverty and hunger, again a topic from sociology. Now that is the thing that I'm trying to say, that a lot of paper two syllabus is overlapping with the sociology again. Interestingly, sociology also has a lot of overlap on paper three, whether it is land reforms in India. Again, it is straight away there in sociology paper two, land reforms in India, comprehensive development and issues emerging from it, development and spread of extremism, linkages, Naxalism, industrial policy, liberalization of economy, industrial growth. All of these are topics that are there in paper two, sociology. So again, something which is directly overlapping. Now, paper four, which is ethics, has a lot of topics which are actually overlapping with sociology, such as human values, role of family, society, educational institutions, inculcating values, reformers, administrators, lessons from lives and teachings. All of these are things, and a lot of concepts from paper four, ethics, are actually things that values is literally, if you take your NCERT sociology textbook, A lot of ethics topics you're not going to find anywhere. What you're going to anywhere in NCERT textbooks, where you're going to find is actually in sociology textbooks, whether it is the term ethics itself, or values, or mores and norms, and all of these topics are there. Now, that is as far as general studies is concerned. Now, what you guys don't understand is your essay paper plays as much a role, or has as much, actually, it has more weightage than any one subject. If you notice, each optional paper has some. So, paper one will have history, geography, society. Paper two will have polity, IR, something, something. Now, each of this will have, paper three will have economy, science and technology. So, essay has as much weightage as each of these papers, which has several optional subjects. Now, but if you notice, general studies, usually you'll have the same marks, but in essay, you will have a huge swing. Ethics is also a paper that has a huge swing, because both ethics and essay, I can tell you, no other papers, no other optional helps you score better in essay than sociology. Again, because invariably one of the topics is going to be social problem, and sociology gives you that depth to deal with it, like no other optional gives you that kind of a depth. Now, ethics, the problem and why scores swing so much between aspirants is because um, there is lack of clarity, and that clarity you are going to get only in two disciplines. One is philosophy, the other is sociology. The problem with philosophy is, it is actually, even philosophy, it goes too deep, so deep that it is not relevant for, again, ethics paper. So the only optional that is really relevant for ethics paper is sociology, to some extent psychology, but mostly sociology. Now, that is overlap with all the papers, and when we go through the syllabus, I'll show you how much of it is overlapping, and therefore the argument that sociology doesn't overlap so much with GS is actually not true. It is just that it doesn't overlap with one subject of GS. It overlaps across all GS papers and increases your overall score. It increases what is called like your general intelligence. It is also specific, which is what I'm trying to tell you, that each topic wise, the number of topics, if you take, there is more overlap with sociology than any other optional. But the advantage is, sociology also improves your general conceptual clarity on all social issues. Because of that increase in conceptual clarity, your every GS answer or paper will have higher scores. And that is advantageous. That is really, really advantageous. I told you last time, in one of the mentoring sessions, I said, in 1 mark in UPSC, in 1 mark, so one person, people who got 1 mark more than me, out of that 200, 2,300 score, there are 50 people. Your 1 mark extra, more or less, is going to cost you 50 ranks. Literally, in a bandwidth of 8 to 10 marks, you will have 200 to 50 people. Every mark matters in UPSC. Imagine, because of your general intelligence and because of the overlap, if your scores are going up by 30, 40, 50 marks, it is a huge difference. It is basically a difference between whether you're in the service or out. Now, like I said, essay not to be taken lightly. I've explained that. It improves clarity and writing. That's also a point that I try to put in. Next slide, please.